Howdy! Welcome to the program, the Victor Wiltz Show. I was reading through an article this morning about a couple of websites that we have played with on the show and on the noon hour and at home. And I have had a lot of fun with these particular websites. Udio and Suno. These are AI websites that generate songs in a matter of seconds. You know, we've made theme songs for the show. We made songs about each other. I'm sure you've heard us play some of them. Well, both of these websites are being sued by the Recording Industry Association of America, the RIAA. And what they want to do is, shut these websites down for copyright infringement, claiming that they're training their models based on copyrighted music. And I guess they found a few instances where they're like, listen to this fake song, this AI song, clearly trained on tracks by a variety of artists. Certain phrasings, patterns of vocals, stuff like that. Now, I don't know, you've got to assume that these websites used real music to train their AI system to create these AI works in the manner in which they do. And just with the amount of time I've spent playing with these websites, it seems almost impossible to me that they would, have nothing but works that they were licensed to use to generate songs in all of these different genres and styles. I don't know. It seems logical they would have used copyrighted music in training their systems. But I don't know how did they necessarily prove it? I guess they got to get into the entire process of how these sites were built. And then as I'm reading through these articles, there's all this stuff about, fair use. Like, for example, on YouTube, you can make videos, make content where you're talking about copyrighted works. Now, I don't believe you can monetize those if they feature the music. Say if you do a reaction video or something like that. I mean, you can grow your channel. You can, churn out as much content like that as you'd like. And by doing so, you could end up getting sponsorships and things like that so that, you are making money off of these. It's just not monetized through YouTube. It's going to be really interesting to see how this works out in the next few years. There are a lot of artists and record labels out there concerned that these websites are going to eliminate human-created music. And I just don't really think that's the case from a songwriter's standpoint. I think it might challenge musicians to, push themselves a little bit further. Make sure you're working hard to create your greatest works. I can see it really having an impact in the pop world where it's very formulaic music, but for things like rock and metal, I don't know. I think that artists, human artists, they've got an edge there. I can't imagine that all of a sudden I'd be like, oh, I can never write riffs again. AI has ruined my ability to churn out guitar riffs. I don't know. Same thing goes, in my opinion, with regular art. Another concern about AI, because there are tons of websites where you can just churn out AI art. And I've had a lot of fun with those websites as well. There will always be a market for human-based works, as far as I'm concerned. I don't know. The AI artwork that you can get in a matter of seconds nowadays, it's excellent. It's excellent. It's not perfect, but it's gotten to be so good. I've seen recent articles where artists are being criticized and accused of using AI when they haven't. And, they'll get a bunch of backlash online. They're like, no, I made that. Here's the process. Here's here's my work. Look at, I did this myself without any AI assistance. But even in Photoshop, AI has been implemented, so you want to make some quick changes to something, it'll just do it for you. I think the combination of using AI as a tool with your own creation of some type of art will just become commonplace, but we're going to see nasty litigation all back and forth for probably many years to come. And I don't know. I mean, I've been pretty blown away by what Udio and Suno will churn out. I actually fired it up again this morning to see what kind of a track, as far as a morning show theme song, Udio would make, because I've only made Victor Wilt show theme songs with Suno. So I wanted to see which one was better. While I was blabbing on there, I just typed in a variety of things here. And one thing I know about Suno is it wouldn't put profanity in the songs. Will this one show me what the lyrics are? I just want to glance through it real quick. Okay, I don't see any bad words. Let's check out this song called Kings of the Night.
In live, it's the Victor Wilt Show. Greatest in the universe, let everyone know. Crushing all the competition, ain't no match in sight. Powered by beef, cheese and kittens, that's our might. Shred the stage, we dominate with rips and bars that ignite. Other shows better flee, cause we're the kings of the night.
I guess I should have put the word morning in there. So far, I think Suno makes better songs. Let's try this one. Let's try Champions of the Universe. Let me glance at the... Oh, is it the... No, it's not the same lyrics. All right, let's check it out.
Victor Wilt's name, the greatest show on earth. Crushing all the challengers, showing what it's worth. Beef and cheese the fuel, cannons in the ground. Rock and rap colliding, volume up so loud. No competition left. We destroy them all! Champions of the universe, hear the victor's call!
I think Udio definitely may perhaps be using some training from bands I'm familiar with. I still think Suno's better. It didn't give me any chorus or anything. And both vocalists sounded the exact same. So... not too impressed with the Udio version of a theme song for the show. All right, anyway, I'm not going to use either of those. As usual, I'm scrolling Reddit for content. I'm actually scrolling Reddit because it's what I do. That's my time killer. Some people scroll Facebook, some scroll Instagram. I've gotten out of the Facebook scrolling because it's just too negative. And I don't like being forced to judge people on my Facebook friends list. When I see people post certain political angles, I'm like, ugh, what's wrong with you people? So Reddit's where I scroll, and I'm looking at cringey baby names. What baby name have you heard that was so cringe-inducing it made you pity the child? And the most popular answer, and I remember when this was a popular baby name, was Khaleesi. If you're familiar with Game of Thrones, you know this character. I guess a lot of people were very upset by the end of the show that they had named their baby this. Now, if you haven't seen Game of Thrones, I'm not going to spoil anything about that show. But I will say, let's say I had a pet and I had named it Khaleesi. Now, I don't think I would name a child that just because it seems like a weird name for a kid to me. But let's say I had a cat that I had named that. Then I watched the entirety of that show. You know, everything that's played out with all these characters. I don't know. I don't think I would care. But I'm also a fan of horror movies. So, you know, there was a certain point in Game of Thrones where I believe one particular action changed a lot of people's opinions on particular characters, like that one. And to me, that was one of the best parts of the show. I couldn't believe people didn't see it coming. It was pretty much hinted at the entire show. And I was like, all right, about time. About time. Get down to business. And if it's the other possible moment that was kind of awkward, that's not the one I'm talking about. I'm talking about the action-packed moment. Oh, what other cringy baby names we got here? Guy who named his kids Winner and Loser? Is that for real? That was like the other day I saw somebody post a photo of a cake that said happy birthday sexy, and somebody was claiming that was their child's name. Now, people are stupid, but I don't really believe somebody named their kid that. Let's actually dive into this. Let's see. Parents name kid sexy. Let's see if there's any proof. All right, let's see here. Yeah, see, this is just a Facebook post with the picture of the cake. That doesn't prove anything to me. You know, I'm not sure if there are rules in the U.S. on what you can name your child, but it seems like there might be a few that they would just refuse to put on the birth certificate. Yeah, I don't believe that. I don't believe that's true. What else do we got for baby names that are cringy? First name Ashton, last name Ashton. All right. I believe that a parent would do that. This is my son, John. Ashton. Try to think about your kid's future. It's just a terrible name. All right, yes, Ashton can be a first name and last name. But come on, you can be more creative than that. Let's see, somebody said family members named their kids Huck. I believe it. Here's my boy, Huck. Balin. Doc. All right, what about Doc for kids? I don't know. Maybe it's because I like Back to the Future so much. Doc doesn't sound like a bad name for a kid. Am I weird? I mean, I had a cat named Doc when I was a kid. We had Marty and Doc. Of course we did. Back to the Future, my mom's favorite movie. But Doc? What up? He'd get the endless Bugs Bunny jokes. Yeah. Though, I don't know if Gen Z or whatever's after Gen Z, Alpha, is that right? They might not be familiar with Looney Tunes. So you might be able to get away with Doc. Huh. There was one guy. You know, I used to listen to the Joe Rogan podcast a lot before the pandemic cooked his mind, and I don't know what happened. It's so disappointing as someone who really enjoyed that show back when it first started and for many years. I don't know what happened to that program. It's terrible. But there's a guy on there, I think he lives in Idaho too. He's like an ex-CIA guy or something. And his kids have the worst names ever. Oh. All right, let's listen to a song and I'll see if I can dig up what those kids' names are. I don't want to shame any children. This is shaming the parents, but he gave his kids a couple of the dumbest names I've heard. I'm gonna find it while we listen to the new one from Hailstorm and I Prevail. Did my digging, and I found those names. Now I feel kind of stupid, though, because it should have occurred to me that if you've got an ex-CIA guy who's on podcasts and radio shows all over the place, maybe he wouldn't give out his kids' real names. Maybe he'd have nicknames for them. But I'd heard this guy on, again, the Rogan show multiple times back in the day, and he always used the same name, so that commitment to those names, I thought they were the real names for his kids. And again, I think he lives in Idaho, this guy Mike Baker. Anyway, he calls his kids Sluggo, Muggsy, and Scooter. If their nicknames, all right. Okay, I thought that was legit, because I'm kind of dumb sometimes. Sluggo, Muggsy, and Scooter. So, anyway, yeah, rip to the Joe Rogan podcast. It's, again, so frustrating to me what that show's become. It's more popular than ever, but it used to be a great show. It was one of the OG podcasts. Podcasting wasn't a big thing back in the day. The first time I tried doing a podcast was, I think, around 2012 or so. Made a few episodes. They were not good. You know, they weren't. I wasn't even very good at doing radio at the time, so shouldn't have been trying to do a podcast. And I think I was still young and like trying to be cool or something. So, due to the fact that I started doing full-time radio, I stopped doing the podcast, and I do wonder to this day what would have happened had I kept doing it, because nobody was podcasting then, and I was getting good action off of it. For a terrible show. Terrible show, getting lots of views. I was on the homepage of Stitcher, and then I just stopped. Who knows? I could be rolling in the riches right now. But instead, I'm hanging out with you here, doing this morning program, and now it's a podcast. Yeah, it was funny. I heard a podcast recently that was kind of trashing on radio shows that post their content as podcasts. And it was really funny because these were radio people, or at least one of them currently works in radio and was talking about how radio's a waste of time. What are your bosses saying about that? You are on the radio, but you want to act cool because you're doing a podcast. The other one was an ex-radio person. And what was most funny about this entire podcast was it was done in the form of a radio show. A lot of the content was stuff that I had done on my show a week before. Because I think if you are a radio person that's done very formulaic radio breaks for your entire career, you just kind of get in that, you know, you get into the habit of structuring your content that way. So it was one subject to the next, boom, boom, boom. Tons of different subjects, like a whole bunch of different little mini radio breaks. So I'm just sitting there thinking, like, why are you trashing on radio shows, posting their shows as, you know, a podcast when you're doing the exact same kind of show? But, oh, you can say naughty words. You know, that's all there you go. That's the edge on radio. You know, you can't say naughty words. So podcasting has the edge. All right, listen. I could upload content with naughty words. And I'll admit that a well-placed naughty word, sure, it can add a lot of impact, but it's not necessary in order to do a show. You don't have to do it. So, anyway, I guess it's a good time to, you know, in radio, we got to take a break. We got to go to them ads. Oh, wait, podcasts, what they do is they just start saying the ads. It's really funny. I've heard a lot of podcasts trash on radio. Oh, you know, you got all those ads you got to sit through, and then they'll do 5 minutes of live reads. What a live read is an ad. It'd be like right now, if I wanted to talk about my friends at Grease Monkey, voted Idaho's best oil change. They got cookies while you wait to get your car done. There's a countdown timer you can look at. I love those guys for sponsoring my show. They're great, and I highly recommend if you need an oil change, you go to Grease Monkey. That's a commercial that I just did right there. So, if you hear a podcast trashing on having to sit through radio commercials, and then they start endlessly plugging businesses, they have commercials. They're interrupting their content to do live reads. Live reads are just another form of ad, but I don't know. I used to trash a lot of radio and other shows and stuff, and I've just gotten old. I just don't care. Let them do their thing. There's tons of terrible radio shows out there, and I'd rather just trash on the business if I'm going to trash on anything. It's a dirty biz. You know, I was talking with Peaches off air yesterday about The Woody Show. Looked like a 30-year co-host on that show. Looks like iHeart gave her the boot. And I would imagine anybody who's been in radio, working in a big market for 30 years, they were making good money. This is an LA-based syndicated morning program. You know that was a budget cut, and that it's sad. And the fans of the show are upset. I've seen so many dirty, sleazy things done in this biz. And it's always about the bottom line. But anyway, I'm babbling. So let's take that quick radio break for our wonderful sponsors who love this show enough that they advertise on it. I appreciate all of them. You should listen to the ads and you should support them. When you open up a thread called "What's the Worst Thing an Ex Has Done to You?" you know there's going to be bad stuff in there, but I figured there's got to be some funny in there, right? Because I'm not just going to dump a bunch of really downer stuff on you first thing in the morning, at least today. So I started digging through this thread, hoping I'd find funny stuff, and there was not enough funny. Am I the only one out there with a funny story of what an ex has done to you? Come on, internet, you can do better than this. I was very disappointed that the most popular comment was, now this isn't nice, but I would have thought, the worst thing an ex could do, there was going to be something horrible, which there are some comments that are definitely horrible. This one, it's not good, but this is the worst thing in the entire thread. My ex left a beer at my doorstep with a note that says, "I hope you relapse." Now, if you're struggling with alcohol addiction, it's not cool. Somebody trying to not booze it up. Try to be helpful to them. So that's rude. That's rude. But I thought it would be something like really vile that I was like, do I even want to read this first thing in the morning? Might bring me down. No, it wasn't too bad. The next most popular was, decided she wanted me back 15 years later after I had moved on and been married for 10 years. Yeah, that's got to be annoying and uncomfortable and awkward. But the worst? I did manage to find a couple sort of funny ones. Like this one says, not worst so much as funny. Eventually. We broke up a while back, fairly amicably, and stayed in touch, but nothing more than a happy birthday or some such text, blah, blah, blah. She sent me a happy Father's Day card in the mail, though. Yeah, that would throw you into a panic, huh? No! After exhaling for 45 seconds while doing calendar math, I called her in a panic. She answered, already laughing. And before I could say anything, just said, "Gotcha." Whew. See, now that one could have been made worse if he was already hooked up with somebody else and a happy Father's Day card shows up in the mail and you open it. Oh. So, the person laughed about that in the end. But I was surprised there wasn't... And maybe if I had kept digging, I could have found some really funny ones. Like, mine at the time, it was certainly not funny, but it's a story I've told a few times on air because it was so ridiculous that I still kind of can't believe it to this day. Broke up with a girl long time ago. And I had just barely moved out of my parents' house. Moved in with a friend. I was living in the basement of his house. So it's his house, okay? His house. And he had a couple dogs. And my ex came over on my birthday when I wasn't home. And if you have a dog, you know, dogs, they drop their dookie in the yard, right? So she was very mad at me and just stepped in as much dog crap as possible and then broke into the house and just trudged that dog poo everywhere. I guess she knew I lived in the basement because she went from the door, through the kitchen, down the stairs. Okay. The stairs and the basement fully carpeted. Okay. And I came home and, this is not the way you want to celebrate your birthday with the carpet shampooer and carpet cleaner and rags. And because it wasn't just on the floor, okay? It was everywhere. Dookie, people, dookie. And then she took a couple things that she, I guess, thought were hers, which they weren't. Namely, my pet rabbits. They were mine. She stole my rabbits. And so I called her and I was upset and said, if you don't bring my stuff back, I'm going to have to contact the authorities because this is various levels of crime. She did return them. The worst thing she did, though, that same day, she was mean to my mom. How could anybody be mean to my mom? My mom was the nicest lady ever. The nicest lady ever. That was the part that made me the most mad. You would think having your entire living space covered with dookie would be, the peak of frustration. But no, being mean to my mom. How dare you? I wonder if I, did a search in the thread, if I could find anything about poo. Because as far as I know, I'm the only person I know that has a poo-related breakup story. I mean, I don't think anybody else would want one. But it has allowed for content at a time or other on this program. And yeah, I can look back and laugh about it now. I think I laughed about it pretty quickly after because it was absurd. It is not the type of thing you expect to happen to you. But it's fine. It's fine. Do you remember waterbeds? Are they even a thing anymore? When's the last time you saw a waterbed? Let's see if you can buy one online. Let's see, waveless waterbed on Amazon. $250. Let's see what we've got here. Is it an actual? It is! Still available. Frame not included. This is just for the giant, I guess you'd call it a mattress. It's got a 4.6 star rating. Why was that hard to say? And you could get it here just in time for the 4th of July. When I was younger, these were very popular. I remember I had a friend that had one and it was like, oh, that's so cool, a waterbed. Woohoo! Oh, geez, you can get one for $2,500 from Walmart. It looks like frame included. I really don't know why these were ever popular. As someone who's worried about spills, leaks, someone who has cats, that's just a no-go. A waterbed? My kitten's always clawing the crap out of my feet. Waterbed wouldn't last a day at my house. But these things had to have burst in people's homes at times. And they would hold a lot of water. That's a lot of water. That's a time to call the restoration company situation when your waterbed explodes. And I would imagine that insurance ain't going to cover that because it was your own stupid fault you had a waterbed. You just decided to have a plastic, just a thin plastic, guess mattress filled to the brim with water. And they seem like they'd be really terrible around here because, it gets cold during the winter months. Now, if you like to sleep cool in the summer, it might be nice during the summer months, but again, they couldn't be very comfortable either. trying to think if I ever slept on one. I remember like crawling around on one when I was a kid and be like, whoa, this is crazy. This is weird. What is going on? But yeah, winter time, you'd have to just cover the thing with blankets. It sounds terrible in the winter. I'm going to go in and lay on my pool of cold water. Good night. Ugh. They probably had heated waterbeds, huh? Which that doesn't sound very nice either. Yeah, why was that a thing? Why was that a thing? I just saw some people talking about them online. Remember waterbeds? What? Somebody said they made them for babies? That doesn't seem like a good idea either. All right. Now, I guess if a waterbed broke, then baby just lays on, the hard surface as the water pours all over the nursery and you come into a nightmare scenario. Ah! I hate spills. I really hate spills. I could have a faucet dripping and I'm about ready to lose my mind. Which I did notice in my basement, the faucet in the tub is dripping, but it drips into a drain, so I'm not like, oh, okay, yeah. I'm not gonna have a meltdown about this, but it's still annoying. There's a drip happening. There's a drip. Can't imagine a waterbed. Anyway, you can still buy one if you want. If you do, let me know how it works out for you. Winter is coming. Let's talk a little bit about metal. I was reading through r/metalcore. There's a thread about bands you enjoy live, but don't listen to their music. And that might sound weird to you. A lot of people wouldn't go to a show for a band they didn't know, or that they just weren't a big fan of their music. I have seen countless bands that I thought they killed it live, were so good I couldn't believe it. But in my spare time, am I going to throw on their music and listen to it? No. And there's a few that there are bands I greatly respect what they do, but I just don't feel like the recorded material comes anywhere near what I saw live. Generally, they're bands that I saw live before I tried to dive into their catalogs. And a few that stand out to me are, number one, the Melvins, which, some fans out there are going to get mad at me. The Melvins put on one of the best live shows I had ever seen as a teenager. And I would go see them live again in a second because they were so good. They were one of the heaviest live bands that I've ever experienced to this day. But every time I try to dive into their recorded stuff, I just can't get into it. The power just doesn't come across in the recorded material. There are a lot of doom bands that are that way for me. Now, I do listen to this band sometimes, but they don't even compare to the live show. Yob, they're great, and I do like their recorded material, but in a live setting, they're kind of like the Melvins. They're one of the loudest, most crushing bands you could ever possibly see. And when you turn on the album, it just doesn't hit you the same. Just doesn't hit the same. I've seen a lot of mainstream rock bands that I'm not really into that just slayed live. And sometimes bands can be hit or miss. Like another band I would never throw on in my spare time that I saw one time completely kill it was Skillet. Yeah, Skillet at the Civic Auditorium. They were crushing. It was a really good show. I'm not going to turn on Skillet in my spare time, but I couldn't deny it was a great show. Jade and I were talking about it after the fact, and I was kind of looking forward to when they played at the arena with Theory of a Dead Man just because they were so good at the Civic. But something's going on with Skillet. You know, it's kind of like earlier I talked about how Joe Rogan had his brain cooked by the pandemic, and ever since he moved to Texas, his show is just garbage and I can't listen to it anymore, which was a big disappointment as an old school fan. Skillet at the Arena. The show was fine, but when John Cooper went on that rant about cancel culture in the middle of the set, it just, like, totally shifted the vibe. Didn't make any sense in the middle of a Skillet set. Skillet is supposed to be like sunshine and rainbows, all right? Nothing but cheeriness. And angry John Cooper ranting and raving about cancel culture. Nobody is trying to cancel Skillet, okay? I don't think Skillet has upset anybody, as far as I'm aware. But, you know, you start ranting like that. I don't know, maybe trying to stir up controversy. It was very awkward. But that's another band that, you know, they were just killer in the live setting. That first time I saw them, I couldn't believe it. And there's another band that I'm trying to think of their stupid name. But I saw them open for Mastodon one time. And they're one of these bands that it seems like I should love them. And I guess I should stop babbling about it because I can't think of what their name is. It's going to drive me nuts. Anyway, so many bands I've seen live that I just can't get into the studio stuff. Tesseract was another one. Tesseract's newer stuff, the studio material, I think is really good. But at the time I saw them, they opened for Devin Townsend in Seattle. They were amazing live. So amazing. Immediately found some of their music when I got back to Idaho. And I was like, is this the same band? It just did not have the same oomph. That's why I always try to stress, you should go to as many shows as possible. You never know what band is going to just completely blow your mind in a live setting and become potentially one of your favorite bands. You know, go to festivals. See every band you could possibly see. There are bands that I had never heard of that immediately became some of my favorites when they were no-namers. System of a Down. When I saw them, you know, I think it was Ozfest, Tattoo the Earth, one of those tours. First band that played the whole day. And I was like, whoa, who are these guys? These guys are crazy. I've never heard a band like this. Instant fan. Yeah, you know, go to shows. I still talk to people from time to time who've never been to a live show. And it's mind-boggling to me because one of my very favorite things in life is a live music experience. And I've gone to a lot of shows that I don't even know why I went necessarily. Like, okay, there's another one I thought of that blew my mind live. Not a fan. Before I went, wouldn't throw them on in my spare time. Motley Crue, when I saw them in Boise about 20 years ago. One of the best live shows I'd ever seen. Yeah. It was crazy. Got a caller here. Maybe they got one. K-Bear, you are live on the show. Please keep that in mind. Who's this?
This is Jay.
Crazy Jay, what do you got for a live band that you don't really listen to their recorded material?
Well, I don't have a live band, but I think most bands are, even country artists, it's pretty hard not to put on a good show, I think.
I've been to some country shows that were awesome, and I don't listen to country music. I've seen a few that, they were great live shows. I've seen some, country shows that I didn't think were very great.
Well, I have a couple too, but the guy was more of a comedian than a country guy, and he just sang too.
All right, well, those kind of shows are different than when you're going to really feel the music and that kind of thing. So.
Yeah.
All right, man.
And I don't really go and feel the music at a country concert anyway.
Yeah, I hear you, Jay. Well, appreciate the call, man, and hope you have a good one.
All right, bye.
Peace. All right, we better get moving so we can get to Freak News here in a minute. Freak News powered by my friends at Grease Monkey. Be right back. Are you looking at maybe taking a vacation? How about this one? OceanGate co-founder organizing trip to one of world's deepest sinkholes. You remember OceanGate? Yeah, you remember the Titanic submarine incident last year? That's OceanGate, that company. Who is going to sign up for this? I can't wait! One of the world's deepest sinkholes? Let's go! Get me on that OceanGate submarine. Are they still going to be charging the same amount they did before? Are they going with a bargain price this time? Do you think there are any rich idiots who are still going to sign up for this? A sinkhole is not as exciting as the Titanic. Now, I don't know exactly how deep the sinkhole is either. Maybe it's just a normal deep hole where you don't have to worry about implosion. Anyway, that's happening. If you want to find out how to go on the trip, you can Google it up yourself. I don't want to be in any way responsible for giving out a link. Here you go. Here you go. Victor sent my family members to their death. They were imploded in a submarine. However, from what I understand about a submarine implosion, it's probably one of the best ways to go. Though I don't know. I don't know for sure. It does seem like the implosion is pretty much instantaneous, but there might be some buildup. Might be a little bit of buildup to that before. It's got to get a little bit uncomfortable. And then also, as you hear the submarine around you just creaking, and you just know what's coming. Ugh. Speaking of other horrible things that could happen to you, here's a headline. Florida man sneezes his intestines out of his body at restaurant. Okay, and if you're wondering how this is possible, it's probably not as gross as you're guessing. I guess he had a surgical wound. So he had a wound on his abdomen that was I'm guessing stitched up or stapled. And he went out to breakfast and all of a sudden just sneezed and coughed. And then I won't, because I think it might cross FCC guidelines for me to read the description from the news article. The news, they can post whatever kind of horrific things they want. You talk about it on the radio, all of a sudden you're a problem. But anyway, they did get descriptive on how said intestines, fell out of his body. I mean, that's bad enough, right? What do? Do you just try to shove it back in your abdomen and hold it there? Go back to the doc? Oh, there was one time, this is going to be gross too, okay? I didn't intend for this to be all death and grossness, but it happens on this program sometime. So I'm thinking about this guy having to get re-stitched after a surgery. I had a lip ring at one point. I had a hoop in my lip. And I went to an Opeth show in Salt Lake City. And I got into the mosh pit. And I got smacked in the face. And the lip ring it didn't tear all the way out of my face, but it tore pretty good. It was not good. There, blood and stuff. And so I took the ring out and I decided to go get the lip ring put back in. Because I paid good money for that piercing. Every once in a while I'll see a thread pop up. What was the most painful thing that you've ever gone through? And one incident comes to mind where I had some type of a reverse root canal. And I just remember, they numbed me up and stuff, but it seemed like something they should have knocked me out for, because they had to they were sawing on my jaw, just and the experience was so traumatic. If you ever see me when my hair has sort of grown out, on my right temple, there's a white spot, just a white patch of hair. Back at the time that I had this dental procedure done, I had long hair. I had a long, patch of just bright white hair after it, because I think I was traumatized. I looked into the deadlights, in the movie It, just turned my hair white. That was one of the worst. But also getting the lip ring put back in. That was one of the most horrible experiences I've ever gone through. And then one night I woke up and the lip ring had like, the little ball popped off and it had turned around. And so the hole had partially closed up again. Yeah, I took it out. I was like, I'm done. I'm not putting this back in. And I've still got a scar inside of my lip to this day. I can't say I recommend lip rings, but if you want to get one, to each their own. We'll do more stories that are less gross and disgusting and death-filled as the program moves along. Nah, I'm not going to talk about more stories involving things that hurt. I think we had enough. Let's talk about what to not do on the job. Don't show up to work and just mow down coffee mugs full of whiskey. Obviously, this is a Florida story. Polk County deputy arrested after showing up to work on a Saturday morning, intoxicated. And so they tried to figure out what was going on. Looked at these security cams and he was knocking down lots of coffee. So they decided to check out his coffee mug and, I guess, raked to the good old whiskey. If you've ever smelled whiskey, it has a strong smell. If you're trying to get away with drinking on the job, I don't think that hard liquor's the best way to sneak some booze into your workday. You shouldn't do that anyway. It's a terrible idea. You're going to lose your job. Bad for your health. There's countless reasons to not mow down alcohol on the job, or really mow down alcohol in general. It's not the best thing for you. The judge had a funny comment to me. It shows a lack of good judgment. Yeah, no kidding. You show up to your job as a police officer, sit down at your desk, and just fill your coffee mug over and over with whiskey. I'd say that does show a lack of good judgment. Then he went out and went on patrol. Anyway, I would imagine he doesn't have a job anymore. But geez. If you are drinking mugs of whiskey, even at home for breakfast, you gotta talk to somebody and get some help. On the job, that shows you got a real drinking problem. But even if you're at home, I'm gonna call that a red flag on your alcohol consumption if it's mugs of whiskey for breakfast. How many ounces is a coffee mug? 10? 12? What's a shot, like an ounce? Ounce and a half or something? 3 mugs he admitted to drinking. 3 mugs of whiskey. How did everybody around him not just smell that? He had to just be a cloud of whiskey stench. And you're in a police station. I don't know. It is Florida. It could be, that's just the smell in the air. Hard liquor. How much work have you accomplished yet? Me? Well, I did the radio show. That's a start. I'll catch up on the other stuff. So how I've talked about advertising recently, and how all of your favorite streaming providers are going to, bit by bit, start introducing advertising into their platforms because none of them are making money. Well, apparently, the Philadelphia airport also struggling to make dough, which, I'm sorry, but I've gone through a number of airports recently. And if you ain't making money at the airport, you're running the place wrong, because that is the most overpriced place for any type of item you could possibly find anywhere in the world. What's worse than the airport? Maybe a concert. Airports and concert concessions about on par for being overpriced. I don't know. Sporting events could be worse. At the Philadelphia airport, this is So ridiculous. The drinking fountain makes you pause and wait to watch an ad before you can get some water. It's got a digital display on it, and you put your mug there, your Hydro Homies flask, you put that there, push the button, and it's like, okay, now you got to wait for this 2-minute ad to complete. Hang on now. That gives you 8 ounces of water at a time, then makes you watch an ad and tries to get you to download an app. What kind of app do you need from a water fountain? I would love to know what app they are slinging. The airport map to the little store where you can go spend $6 for a cruddy bottle of water. You know, the water that costs 50 cents at the gas station. $6, please. This is the airport. We're struggling to get by. So just a heads up, as far as I know, it's only at the Philadelphia International Airport. But we're just going to start being pummeled by ads everywhere. Wait till they get the chips in our head. You know? And you got that computer screen that pops up in front of you, virtual screen, it just blasts right out of your eyes. You know, you're trying to run the GPS. Hang on. We've got a 2-minute break. You can skip it in about 30 seconds by blinking. Looking at a post here online. What's the most Idaho movie? Are there very many at all? What options do we have? Right, they're saying Napoleon Dynamite versus Smoke Signals versus The River Wild. What is Smoke Signals? I've never even heard of this movie. Smoke Signals, Idaho movie. Came out in 1998. The cover doesn't look familiar at all. It's a 1998 coming-of-age comedy drama film. Well, so far, since I've never heard of that, and maybe that's a shame upon me as an Idahoan to not be familiar with the movie Smoke Signals, so far, gotta stick with Napoleon Dynamite for the win. Now, what about The River Wild? That does sound familiar. But I need to look it up here. The River Wild, Idaho movie. All right, is a family whose whitewater rafting is endangered when they are taken hostage by a pair of armed fugitives. Okay, it's got Meryl Streep, Kevin Bacon. I remember seeing this movie. Is this an Idaho movie? They're on a rafting trip down the Salmon River. Okay, I'm going to have to go back and watch this movie again. I do recall watching it a number of times when I was a kid. My parents were into whitewater rafting, so I would imagine that they were fans of this, and thus that's why I recall seeing it numerous times. Did they film it in Idaho, though? That's the question. Because you can say you're wherever. In a movie, you can be like, hey, here we are. We're hanging out in Pocatello, Idaho. And you're like, that don't look like Pocatello to me. All right? The thick, lush forests seem to indicate to me you're not in eastern Idaho. Let's pull up the old Wikipedia here. Universal Studios began considering locations along the Middle Fork of the Flathead River and Kootenai River in Montana. Other than that, they scouted areas in Washington, Oregon, Idaho, and Wyoming. Okay. Many of the film's whitewater scenes shot in Montana, as well as a section of the Colorado River, the Rogue River in southern Oregon, and the Middle Fork of the Flathead River, also in Montana. Okay, no, not an Idaho movie. If it was not filmed in Idaho, it don't matter. You can say you're wherever you want to be. That's not an Idaho movie. Napoleon Dynamite was filmed in Preston. And you can tell. You fire up that movie, it is clear that you are looking at a movie filmed in East Idaho. All right? And it nails so many things. People being way behind the times, the weirdness of certain people. I mean, it's a very believable Idaho movie. I've watched Napoleon Dynamite countless times, and it screams East Idaho, whether or not any of you around here want to admit to that. You know it does. You go to Preston and you tell me that, shout out to our listeners in Preston, you tell me that Napoleon Dynamite don't scream Preston, Idaho. Come on. I'm sure if you drive to Napoleon's house, it looks the same today as it did in that movie. They had real Idaho people in the movie. The farmer, well, I met that guy tons of times over the years. Rip to that fine fella as well. He was a very nice guy. Yeah, I mean, is there any Idaho movie that is more quintessential than Napoleon Dynamite? If you can name one, you call me. But it's got to be filmed here. It can't be The River Wild that was not filmed in Idaho. All right? Though I think I got to watch that movie again. Yeah. Screaming some nostalgia for some reason. K-Bear, what's happening?
Hey, Victor. I was just calling. I was hearing you talking about Idaho movies, and I just wanted to point out that Dante's Peak was filmed in Wallace, Idaho.
Dante's Peak. All right. Filmed in Wallace?
The one with Pierce Brosnan.
Really?
Yep, that was filmed in Wallace, Idaho. You can clearly see the rocket ship that was in front of the hotel that is actually still in Wallace to this day. Well,
I'll be darned. I was pulling up the Wikipedia entry on that here. Film shot on location in Wallace, Idaho. It's been so long since I have seen that movie, I don't even remember it. So
yeah, it's definitely I really enjoy it. It's a classic volcano movie.
All right. Yeah. All right. I'm going to have to watch that one again. And so far, I would say that leaps ahead of The River Wild on being an Idaho movie, because that's definitely one that people have heard of, big name stars. Huh.
Yeah.
All right, man.
Just figured I'd give a call and throw that out there.
Well, thanks for the heads up. And
no problem.
I'm going to add it to my to-watch list.
All right.
All right. Thanks, man. Peace.
Yep. You have a good day. Bye.
So anyhow, talking Idaho filmed movies, I mentioned earlier I hadn't heard of the movie Smoke Signals, and my girlfriend texted me, he's like, you haven't even heard of that movie? Like, I guess it's pretty beloved, but I don't think I've heard of it. I really don't think I have. You're going to have to check it out. I looked it up. It was filmed in Coeur d'Alene, and yeah, it won a bunch of awards. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how I didn't hear of it. Not a lot of movies filmed in Idaho, at least according to Wikipedia. Pulled up a list here. Most of these I have not heard of. Looking through the entire list, and there's probably 20 of them. Wild Wild West, that Will Smith movie, that was filmed in Idaho. Where and when? Let's look at the production section of the Wikipedia page for that. Do they not have one? They got all this information about the soundtrack and this and that. Okay, filming. So a lot of it shot in California. I don't see anything about Idaho. Well, hang on. Let's go to a caller here. K-Bear, you are live on the show. Who's this?
Victor, good morning.
It's the Redneck. What's up, man?
Oh, just driving.
All right, what you got for Idaho filmed movies?
Pale Rider with Clint Eastwood.
Pale Rider with Clint Eastwood. Hold on, let me get back to my Wikipedia list. I don't know if I saw that one on here. No, Pale Rider, right there. That is a legendary movie. 1985 American Western film, produced and directed by Clint Eastwood. Let's get to the production section. Shot in the Boulder Mountains and Sawtooth National Recreation Area. Oh, I guess you can't miss the Sawtooths. They're pretty easy to spot. And I went through a little phase where I was pounding through westerns. And Pale Rider, I didn't end up watching that one. So, I mean,
Yeah, he frequents. He's like Bruce Willis. He frequents Sun Valley often. Him and Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, I have heard of Clint Eastwood hanging around here. I guess I just somehow missed that Pale Rider was filmed in that area. So now I'm definitely going to have to watch it. I'll add it to the list. So
Right.
appreciate the heads up on that one, the redneck.
Absolutely. You have yourself a good day, and don't work too hard, Victor.
Hey, thanks, man. You as well. Peace.
Bye-bye.
All right. Opening credits featured the jagged Sawtooth Mountains south of Stanley. Interesting. Okay. What was I looking at before? Wild Wild West. I was trying to determine where in Idaho any of that was filmed. All right, there's the production section again. You would think they wouldn't have linked to it if there wasn't something from Idaho. Okay. Exterior sequences shot on the Camas Prairie Railroad, which is, where is that? Oh, up by Lewiston. Okay. Huh. Had no idea. Got another caller. Let's go to the phones. K-Bear, you're live on the show. Keep that in mind. Who's this?
Hey, this is Joe. How's it going?
Joe, I'm doing pretty good, man. What do you got for Idaho filmed movies?
Good. I just wanted to add to what that last gentleman said there. I had a friend that his mom was actually in that set in the Pale Rider there as a backup member.
She had what role?
What's that?
She was like an extra?
Yeah, an extra. Yeah.
Nice. Well, I'm definitely going to have to watch it now. An Idaho filmed Western with Clint Eastwood. I got to see it. So, all right.
Right on. Have a good day.
Hey, you too, Joe. Good to hear from you, man.
Yeah, see you. Bye-bye.
Peace. All right. Have I heard of any of these other movies that are on this list right here? Let's give it a look. Ghost Dad with Bill Cosby? What? Hold on, let's get to the production section here. Now, I saw that movie back in the day. I don't think I'm about to fire up any Bill Cosby movies anytime soon. It was a critical and box office bomb. I don't see anything in the article about the production. It has a terrible Rotten Tomatoes rating. Roger Ebert characterized it as desperately unfunny. Where was it filmed? Hold on. Maybe we got to look this up elsewhere. Ghost Dad filmed in Idaho. Let's see. A little bit in Boise, I guess. Yeah. Huh. Oh, here's a radio station ranking the top 10 movies filmed in Idaho. Better have Napoleon Dynamite at number 1. KEZJ. You're going down. Okay, number 10, Breakfast of Champions. Filmed in Twin Falls. And according to KEZJ, which is a Twin Falls country station, their own Brad was supposedly an extra in the movie. You can't believe anybody named Brad, okay? Just playing to all the Brads listening. Magic Valley, I seem like I heard of that one, but I don't think that's a real name film. You know, Magic Valley. You know how I feel about the Magic Valley. We're not even going to get into that. No way I'd watch a movie called Magic Valley. Had enough time in the Magic Valley. Pale Rider at number 8. All right. Moving with Richard Pryor. Where was that filmed? Filmed in Boise, part of the movie. And then they ranked Ghost Dad ahead of a Richard Pryor movie. Get out of here, KEZJ. What are you talking about? Ain't no way. Oh, dude, they got Napoleon Dynamite at number 4. This is a shame upon them. That's the number 1 Idaho movie. There's a movie called The To-Do List, and most of it was filmed in Boise. It's on the raunchy side. Okay, Dante's Peak at number 2, which we talked about. And I'm going to have to check that out. If you've never been through Wallace, first time I ever drove through Wallace was last September, moving my daughter to Washington. Wallace is a neat little town. Kind of comes up out of nowhere. It's kind of weird. It seemed like it'd be a great setting for a horror movie. Huh. And they ranked Wild Wild West number 1. Now, if they filmed a little bit of it in Idaho, how much of it was really shot in Idaho? I thought a lot of it was on soundstage. Yeah, it says right in the description here, not much of it was filmed in Idaho. A few scenes. I'm going to say it don't count then. If it was not primarily filmed in Idaho, it does not count as an Idaho movie. Shame on KEZJ. Wonder if their playlist is like. All right, now we got the morning show with Brad and Jeff on. Huh. Let's take a look at it. Did they post their pictures? I got to see if I know these guys. That's the tiniest little picture I've ever seen. I can't tell if I know those guys or not. Brad and Jeff. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about guys named Brad or Jeff. Just playing Brad and Jeffs. All right, well, anyway, I still say Napoleon Dynamite, number 1. Come on. Is there a funnier scene in an Idaho movie than when Uncle Rico chucks a steak at Napoleon when he's on the bike? Yeah, exactly. Want to briefly talk about local music. As you hopefully know, K-Bear, a massive supporter of our local music scene. Since even back before I started here at K-Bear. Since long ago, since I'm such an old timer here, we have had a show called 4 Locals Only, airing Sundays at 4 p.m. We play 4 tracks from 4 local bands, and local bands have been sending me lots of new music recently, which is great. I love it. I love that we're getting a big influx of new local tracks, and every once in a while, a local band will hit me up and be like, hey, how do I get you my music? It is super easy to get your music to us. Go over to the kbear.fm website, and under the contact link there, you'll find a 4 Locals Only tab. Click on that tab. It'll bring you to a form to fill out. You fill out the form, and then it'll tell you how to email a track to me and Peaches. And then with all that information, we can get you on the show. And I know local bands are recording all the time. And I know some of you local bands have told me you'll send me music, and then you haven't. Shame! Shame be upon you! Trust me, people listen to the show. You should give us your music so we can check it out and play it. You know, I've had a few metal bands send me songs that were so good, I put them on Jank Show. I mean, to get on Jank Show, you've got to be like crushingly heavy. It's got to fit Jank Show. Like, you got to be one of the really brutal bands. And also your production would have to be very, very good. But I'm waiting for the day when a local band blows my mind so much that I put a local track in rotation. It certainly could happen. It's my challenge to you local bands, because it hasn't happened yet. And that's coming from somebody who makes music. My stuff not good enough to go into rotation. So I don't know if I'd be allowed to put my own stuff in rotation, even if it was good enough. My stuff is pretty cool, if you've never checked it out. But I should say our stuff. I don't want to take all the credit. Shout out to my homies in my band. You're the best. You're the ones that make us sound really good. It's certainly not me. But local bands, please submit your tracks to us so we can keep that show as fresh as possible. We love supporting bands in the local scene, and we go regional with this too. Are you a Wyoming band, a Montana band? I mean, I guess Oregon and Washington are our neighbors as well. Salt Lake, Boise. Send us some stuff. We'll put it on the show. 4 Locals Only every Sunday at 4 p.m. If you're a listener, you should check it out and get a taste of what's happening in the local music scene. We've got great bands around here. Me saying I haven't ever been blown away enough to put a track in rotation is not a shame on our local music scene. I get tracks from big, huge bands that I won't put in rotation. So, yeah, it's no shame. No shame. Great local bands around here. Check them out Sundays at 4 p.m. Fun show today. I appreciate all of you hanging out. Hope you enjoyed it. Before I go, I wanted to briefly, again, touch on this whole dumb Taylor Swift, Dave Grohl situation. After really reading through Dave's comments, I don't think Dave was even taking a shot at Taylor Swift. Now, a lot of people think he was because at the beginning of the year, I guess, Dave's daughter posted something on Twitter about Taylor Swift's jet, being bad for the environment and asking, why doesn't she just drive like everybody else? And I guess the Swifties attacked her because that's what Swifties do. I need to get the Swifties to attack me. They're accusing Dave Grohl of attacking Taylor Swift so he could get some press and clout. Would that work? If I attack Taylor Swift on this show, would y'all spread the word to the Swifties somehow? Because I will say, yet again, that she's disingenuous to her fans when she does things like throw Ticketmaster under the bus for ticket prices when she signed on for dynamic pricing. She's clearly involved with ticket pricing. But it's easier to deflect blame on Ticketmaster than take responsibility for how much money you want to make. Anyway, back to Dave. Reading his comments, he came out and said, we like to call our tour the Errors Tour, because I feel like we've had more than a few eras and more than a few errors as well. And then he said, because we actually play live. What? Just saying we're a live band. You guys like live rock and roll music, right? You came to the right place. Yeah, bands that really play live do tend to make mistakes sometimes, and maybe they just screwed up a song at that point, and he was laughing about it. If that's a jab at Taylor Swift, it's really, really tame. And again, I don't know, there's a lot of these lip-syncing allegations going around, and yesterday I mentioned it would make sense to me that there would be portions of her songs that she took a vocal break when she's doing a 3.5-hour show. Now, the Foos, I think, do 3-hour shows too, and Dave's out there screaming and yelling. But, man, Swifties, not all of them, but the hardcore ones, they are just the worst, the most toxic fan base in entertainment. I don't know of anybody worse that I can think of. So, if you want to let the Swifties know, let's see. Victor Wilt said, as far as pop music goes, Taylor Swift's music is mid, as the kids would say, and that I believe she's just as much to blame for her fans being overcharged for tickets as Ticketmaster. I'm not going to say, she sucks. I'm not going to take the Facebook route. Her music is fine. It's okay. It's mid. But yeah, go ahead and let the Swifties know, because I need to be in the news. Thank you again for tuning in to the Victor Welch Show. This program is a production of Riverbend Media Group. To contact the show or for more information, hit us up at riverbendmediagroup.com.